We're making a film about the way students are thinking about the election that's coming up.
What election?
The general election.
What election?
Not the student election.
No. The one in May that might decide the future of the country.
Yeah.
It just doesn't interest me. If someone stands for something that's worth supporting, then I will.
And you're probably not even registered to vote.
No.
Wow. The most important event in this country for about at least 5 years, and you're having nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
It's a shame, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a great shame.
And anyone else voting? Really? You're the flower of a nation's youth, among our most able and talented young people, and you're just not
I
getting
don't think
involved.
they really aim it at the youth. They don't really build awareness that much.
I mean, what do they have to do? Free money? Everywhere I go, there are people handing out flyers for parties, but not political parties. Ta. So there's your student stereotype. Apathetic, really not interested in politics at all. Up there, though, is the constituency of Manchester Withington, which at the last election went from Labour to the Lib Dems on a massive swing of 17.5%, largely because of the student vote. And in there are people who are really keen to get the student vote out again this time.
Are you registered to vote for the general election coming up? Are you registered to vote? You just got to fill these out.
The big thing that everyone is saying is tuition fees and cuts as well. So there is possibly, I think on Thursday, going to be an announcement about cuts, and I think students are going to be very, very angry about that. For me, it's all about finding a personal connection with the individual. So when people say that, they don't care about politics, I think it shows that there is a bit of a disconnect between politics being the thing which gets things to be changed.
Right, okay.
So if someone is really passionate about tuition fees, it's kind of about engaging with them on that issue and saying, well, by voting, this is one way of influencing politics and influencing change, and then kind of encouraging them to become more politicised in general. And then the other way is, of course, to talk about places like Withington and say that, if you vote, it has a real potential. So I think making people feel empowered is a really good way of getting people to
Is it ever depressing to have to explain that to young adults? Shouldn't they know that already?
Yeah, we actually have a campaign which is coming up in the union at the moment, which one of the students is doing, about trying to get political education to be compulsory at secondary school level to address this exact problem.
Now, the big headline on campus this week is Independence Day. This is the student newspaper, which refers to the fact that at the last round of student elections, candidates with no party affiliation swept the board, which maybe is in keeping with that anti-political mood which we see reflected in opinion polls and how people feel about the expenses crisis and all of that. But while all this is going on, one or two people are trying to keep the flame of traditional party politics burning.
I was canvassing in city centre for a friend, and there were people opening the doors who were genuinely really happy to see us. It's almost like the Conservatives haven't made a real appearance in Manchester for so long that now we have appeared. Actually, people are converted secretly, or people have, maybe reviewed their opinions.
As the party's become a more modern, a more progressive party, as people have become more disillusioned with Labour, so people who perhaps have always voted Labour are starting to consider other parties. I certainly think that the groundwork's starting to be laid here in Manchester, and I think a number of wards, a number of constituencies in Greater Manchester, sort of outside the city, are certainly on their way to becoming blue.
So basically, when David Cameron became leader of the party, it is that kind of Tony Blair thing that I had in 1995, 96, but that I got into politics. He opened the party up, and he's made the party more inclusive. I don't think I would be a member of the party if Cameron wasn't the leader. He's managed to remove part of the stigma. It's not that the values have somehow radically changed. It's that the party seems more open, and it seems open to everyone.
See, when I was at university, the default position of most students was to be left-wing and rebellious, right? And if I'd have met people like you when I was 20, I'd have thought the world had gone in a terribly strange way, that you were all looking forward to the arrival of a new government and David Cameron and all that. What happened to your rebellious phase? Did you have it a few years ago and got it out,
Still
got it out of the
rebellious.
way? You're still rebellious?
Yeah, I mean,
What are you rebelling
against? I think that's what people
My
often ignore about the Conservative Party. Is it's a lot more than just sort of a low tax, low spend party, sort of only interested in taking money, stopping money going from the rich.
Well, you
to
can
the
be,
poor.
a rebel.
I think you could be a rebel
But
and
you're
still be a
called the
Tory.
Conservative Party. How can you be a rebel Conservative?
I think there's a growing element in the party, a very progressive element that's got a lot of focus on civil liberties and on rolling back the state. And I think for me certainly that's why I joined the party.
Okay.
Is
which kind of
you can
people
be,
make the noises that you like?
Alan Duncan, David Davis,
Right.
they're all the sort of figures that attracted me to the party, and I think you can sort of have a go at the system and still be a Tory. You can resent government intervention and for whatever reason. Our reasons are different to theirs over there.
There goes the oppressive state, whizzing past. What drew you to being a Lib Dem activist?
Equality, really. The Lib Dems are, it's the slogan for the election. The Lib Dems are the party of fairness for everyone, fairness for students, fairness for people from minority groups.
It's not just a bit. I mean, it's like saying we're for being nice, though, isn't it? What is it? I don't find many people who are into unfairness.
That's true, but the Lib Dems have committed policies. There's huge inequalities in the way people pay taxes, and the Lib Dems have recently at party conference passed a policy motion saying that they're going to close the tax loopholes for rich people and make it so that people with lower incomes don't pay as much tax as rich people.
When you come here in your first year, you see all the stands and all the socialist worker people with their beards and their newspapers, and you think, well, it looks quite exciting, but then they're just these people are sort of so divorced from reality. I just can't take them seriously.
This is the one time of your life when you can, throw rocks at things and let off
I
steam.
disagree.
I'm not sure I want to hear about that power.
I don't think you should synonymise student activism with throwing rocks and burning things. Nowadays, students have brains. They're sensible people. They're going to look at the issues and make an appropriate decision based on how they feel.
I always take issue when people assume that students are apathetic, because whilst there might not be sort of the mass scale movements that we had in the 70s, for example, there is a lot of student activism.
Around what kind of issues?
Well, there's been a lot of activism over the last year over Israel-Palestine, on various feminist issues, on opposing cuts in fees, on fighting for young persons' right to work. I mean, there are things that are going on.
We're now on our way into the Withington constituency with Andrew Campbell here, who's a student Labour activist, and obviously he's of the opinion that Labour can win this seat back. How much have you been campaigning in the Withington constituency then,
lately? I would say we're probably out once or twice a week, sort of with the candidate. Obviously very eager to get out there, we've got 8 weeks now.
I'm still unsure though how you're going to get people back to the Labour Party.
I think the strong candidate in Withington as well, actually Lucy Powell, does communicate well with students.
A Guardian blogger.
Yeah, is from the area, is willing to communicate with students, has signed up to the NUS pledge. She's said that if she's elected to Parliament,
that's interesting.
Yeah, if she's elected to Parliament, she will vote against the whip to stop the cap being risen.
If necessary, she will be a parliamentary rebel against lifting the cap on tuition fee.
Yeah, and
that must help on the doorstep.
It does.
It proves actually though as well how much clout students have got in this constituency.
Yeah, obviously you've got a campaign that's being waged in Withington. You can't waste resources. Lucy Powell, she's coming to the Students' Union because she wants to convince students to vote for her.
But also you ignore the student vote at your peril.
Well, exactly, yeah.
The student activists we met today from the other two main parties, in their very different ways, think the future is theirs to win. They were quite bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and forward-looking. People say the sun's setting on this government. I mean, do you feel like that? The lights are going out for you?
I don't think so. I think within the Labour Party is still quite sort of intellectually vibrant. You do have a lot of groups putting forward ideas. And I think that does filter down to sort of activists. You do got the sort of think tanks. You got sort of Progress. You do got a Compass. You still got the sort of.
Do you know what the offer is for a fourth-term Labour government? Because I'm not sure I do. What's the plan? So
you do have ideas. You do have the national healthcare service. You have quite big ideas, sort of where the government is prepared to step in and change a system quite fundamentally, even though they have been in government for 13 years. There is still. I mean, obviously, there isn't the momentum that there once was in the Labour Party.
You're a little bit more realistic than the average activist, maybe.
Possibly.
The student political activists of Manchester, and more specifically of Withington, are really fighting hard for this seat. It's a bellwether seat right now, but it's a bellwether seat as far as the future's concerned. There are so many young voters here that if you want to get a sense of the politics of 10, 20 or 30 years' time, this is a good place to start. Can the Lib Dems finally make that breakthrough? Can the Labour Party renew itself after 13 years in government? Is David Cameron's reinvention of the Conservative Party going to endear it to young voters? If you even want the start of the answers to those questions, this is the kind of place you have to look.